Sup tube, welcome back to Laguido's Chop Shop, second best gel blaster channel on the tube, and today probably the most asked question I get of late anyway is when are you going to review the new steyr? And today's the day. I've got here the new steyr. Well, actually I don't, this is the box that it comes in, but I've already been at it. I couldn't help myself. I've taken it out of the box and put it together. I will just get that for you. And Shazam, there it is. All right, so this is the LH, let's just call it LH, I can't pronounce it. Steyr AUG. It looks a lot like the old one, however, it's got a much longer barrel at the end here, and it is a much more solid nylon construction. Like the construction is so much more solid. I've got an old one here with a Gen 8 in it. Let me just grab it so we can have a look. All right, so here's the old one, and a lot of people have been calling this one V2 and this one V1. It's not. Don't do that. This is a Yitai and this is a Lihui. So two different companies, two different brands, two completely different things. They're not even close to being the same. It is actually, for the old style blasters, it is fairly solid, but it is very plasticky, the old one. And this, all very plasticky. This, I don't know if you can hear the difference, but it is nylon. It's all nylon. It's a lot more solid than the first version of the AUG that we got, not to the V1, because it's made by two different companies, so keep that in mind. First thing I noticed when I got this out of the box is that you have to assemble it. It's not as simple as it sounds. It does take down by pulling that pin there out, releasing this latch here, and removing that. Now that looked easy, but putting it back in is not as easy as it sounds. You've got to get everything lined up, particularly with that the switch. This piece here, which is actually the piece that switches the switch for the mag priming. Yeah, see how it had popped? It popped over. This is very loose, and that switch had popped over here. So if that pops over there, it jams your charging handle. You've got to make sure this is actually sitting back here where it's free, and that it doesn't flick forward like that, so that your charging handle will actually work. And with that in mind, you could probably lock that back when you're inserting it. I'm sure there's probably instructions that tell you to do that, and I probably didn't read them as per usual. And then put that in, and then when you've got it all clicked into place, you're going to slide this, make sure it's the correct way, this takedown pin in, and that locks it all together. I guess once you get used to it, it's probably quite easy, but first time takes a little bit of messing around with. The next thing I noticed is this front handle was very wobbly. The way this works is you actually pull it forward to unlock it, and then goes down, and then push it up, and it locks. And there is actually a spring inside this, which you can access by pulling this bottom plate off. Maybe I'll demonstrate that while I'm here. So you got to basically pop this plate, and once you've got access to this plate, if you pull that, you'll notice it's retained by a spring. So yes, if you pop that plate off, remove that spring, what I've done is I've knocked this pin out that holds it. Release the spring first, otherwise the spring's going to shoot out. Ask me how I know. Knock that pin out, and I've just reassembled it with, can you see this here? Focus. There we go. I've just reassembled it with a small washer in there. Put the washer in there. It's not 100%, but it's a damn sight better than it was. It doesn't wobble around anywhere near as much as it used to, and it functions in the way it was supposed to. So that's one of the things I've heard a lot of people complaining about, is that front grip. Put a washer in there, hook the spring back up afterwards, and then you should be sweet. Alright, well, looks good. Slight issue with the handle there, the front grip. Other than that, let's give it a test. Let's load this up and see how it goes. I do like the mag release, the earlier version of the Yitai that I had. This is not a mag release, this is just a plastic molding, and the mag release is actually a button on the other side, which is quite annoying for a bullpup if you're right-handed. This, however, can be used ambidextrous, which is good. Load the mag by popping that off. That's actually quite easy to do, surprisingly. It is a proprietary mag. I've not seen anything like this before. So, oh, look at this. Oh, that's cool. Look at that. Tear down and clean the mag. Easy. It's a shame that it is a proprietary mag. It'll only work in this blaster. But that, look, that is solid. Like, there's not even a lot of flex in that when I squash it. Yeah, it's a solid mag design. Everything about this blaster that I've seen so far just screams solid in terms of build. This charging handle does seem a little bit janky. It's a little bit loose in there, but other than that, everything else seems very, very solid. Alright, so let's chrono this thing. Incidentally, I just went to plug in the battery and everything to get it ready to chrono, and it didn't have a battery. So I don't know, mine didn't have a battery, or whether they don't come with batteries. I don't know, let's get this on. Wowee. Max of 69. That is pitiful. Now I definitely got to open this up and find out what the heck is going on in this thing. I just had standard Milkies. Well, the LDT red packet Milkies. Yeah, wow, that is terrible. All right, let's open this thing up and find out what's going on. All right, so take it down. At least it's easy to take down. Upper receiver comes off. Not too dissimilar to the real style. That gel ball's falling out everywhere. That's interesting. I just noticed that the actual where the mag feeds into the blaster here is not actually part of the T-piece. It's got like a two-piece split T-piece design, which is something I've never seen before. Could be potentially what the issue is. Maybe that's not sealing properly. Maybe in assembly this didn't go in all the way or something. Let's find out, because 60 FPS is not great at all. Oh, that piece is metal. It's got a bit of weight to it. That's oh yeah, that's part of what gives the stock that nice weight. Now the gearbox sits in the back here, and from what I understand, it slides out the back. Now, just like that. Wow, that is actually really surprisingly easy to get to. I imagine that you're going to have to disconnect a bunch of these wires first. So there's a couple of plugs in here. Here we go. Plug in here, blue and white wire. Disconnect that. Red and black wire. Disconnect that. And let's see. Negative wire is bent at like a 45-degree angle there. I'm not going to bend it back because I don't want to fatigue that tab any more than it already is. Red wire. It actually tears down quite easily. That's a pretty cool design. I like that. Get these out of the way. Let's have a look at this. This is interesting. Looks like a V3 gearbox, which is kind of similar. It's kind of similar to what's in the Alpha King that I videoed just the other day. I don't have it available to me right now. Well, it's not pulled apart, so can't really compare them. But I think they look very similar. Anyway, I'm gonna take the barrel out of the upper, and as far as I'm aware, you do that by releasing this pin here and twisting the front of it. Maybe charging handle back, maybe. There we go. Charging handle back, release, twist, and then it comes out. There we go. Worth noting. I think it's easiest to do most of the assembly disassembly when this charging handle is locked back in the back position. I'm sure that's something that it tells you in the instructions, if I had read them. That is a long barrel. That's a long barrel. Let me see. The T-piece is all the way back here. I don't know where the actual where the front of the barrel is, whether it actually does extend all the way down to the end here, or whether it's just sort of locked in the back. Okay, so I've found my first screws. I was kind of hoping for a toolless takedown all the way through here, but there is two little number 1 Phillips screws just here, which then allow you to remove the barrel from the outer barrel. Now let me just do a quick mathematic calculation here. Alright, so barrel is 45 centimeters. Now the cylinder is it's one of these. So I'm just going to measure this one because it's easier than doing that one. Alright, looks like it's about 37.6. And I don't know if you can see that, 23.78. Let's call it, yeah, 23.78. And of course the barrel inner diameter, it's like 7.6. 7.58. Call it 7.6. I mean I'm gonna do the calculation, but like I know for a fact that the full cylinder, when it's not ported, works best with, I think, like a round about a 30 say 33 centimeter barrel. And this ported cylinder, which is looks like it's been rated from the parts bin of the Vector, which is made by the same company. I know that this particular ported cylinder is basically ideal for an 18 centimeter barrel. So why they've got a 18 centimeter barrel ported cylinder with a 45 centimeter barrel, what have they done? Yes, it's certainly an interesting combination. I don't know why they would do that. Why would they have such a long barrel with such a short stroke cylinder? Either way, I'll do the calculation and we'll work that out. All right, so for those of you who are interested, the calculation, because a lot of people have asked me about this, is pi r squared. So times length. Pi r squared times length. That gives you the volume. So you take the measurement of the internal diameter of your barrel. That gives you, and divide that in half. That gives you your radius. So that's r, and your L is the length of the barrel from seat to tip. And you do that for both the cylinder and the barrel. And with the cylinder, obviously your L is only from the end of the port to the head. If that makes sense. So if you've got a fully non-ported cylinder, then you will have the full length will be L, whereas here, if it's got a port, you only take from there to where the cylinder head is. I hope that makes sense. A few people have asked for me. It's out there. You can Google it. Anyway, this doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So the volume of the barrel comes out to like 2041 cc's, cubic centimeters. and the cylinder volume comes out to about 1670, give or take, decimal point, cc's. There's more volume in the barrel than there is in the cylinder. Is this right? Am I doing this right? This is completely wrong. You should have more volume in the cylinder than you have in the barrel. Otherwise, the ball's gonna get halfway down the barrel and then start decelerating before it's even left the barrel. So that works out to roughly a 0.8 to 1 ratio. That's a horrible ratio. What were you thinking? I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I am going to replace this cylinder with a full cylinder from a Gen 8 and then just reassemble all of this again and then chrono it again. Let's do that. And again, we've got this, so this must be a V3 thing, because all of the V3s I've seen lately have had this metal plate across the top. I guess for strength reasons, which is a good idea. I like it. It's good design. This gearbox, for what it's worth, is solid. Like in terms of all the sort of acrylic type gearboxes that I've seen before, this one is definitely the most solid I've seen. You can feel, I mean, LH Lihui, or however you pronounce it, is, I mean, they've made some solid gearboxes in the past. I mean, the Vector was one of the most solid gearboxes that I've seen. Now, to get this metal rail off the top, it's a little bit of a pain because there's actually a little tab that sits in there, and I had to sort of push it down on the end of my bench and sort of knock it off this way, just to get it to slide forward a bit, while sort of levering something up at the back of this to just get it over that tab. Yeah, so getting this off the tab is probably the hardest part, and then once it's off the tab, it just slides off the front. Now, you can see, I don't know if you can see the tab here. Focus. There it is. It's only a little tab, but it makes it enough of a pain just to get that off. Alright, so on the side of this gearbox, incidentally, just while I'm here, there's a micro switch which is connected to a rocker which runs off the selector, which is what tells you, or what tells the MOSFET every time it's fired. Incidentally, there's a smaller position here as well. So it looks like you have the option of either the bigger switch or the smaller switch, depending on, I don't know, what they had this gearbox in mind for. I guess this is kind of where it varies away from what your standard V2 type gearbox has, aside from also the fact that it's got mag terminals on the front of it as well. So yeah, sorry, did I say V2? I meant V3. V3. So yeah, not your standard V3 gearbox. Alright, so I think I've got all the screws out, got that metal top section off. Let's pop her apart and see what's cracking inside. Alright, so this plunger is interesting. It looks like they've angled this end, which is somewhat similar to a vector plunger. Let me get a vector plunger to compare. Alright, so here's a vector plunger. Looks like they've taken that same angle at the back there. Same angle taken off there. Although this plunger has a cutout. Aside from that, I think, yep, identical teeth spacing, same length, same angle on the back there. So this would indeed fit into a vector box. However, this slot here leads me to believe that they had something in mind with a blowback or recoil feature for this piston. They've got something in their plans for that. Probably not for this box because it doesn't have the opening in the top. But if they've cut that off for the same as the vector and done this, I'd say they've pre-produced this piston to be compatible with both their previous vector and maybe their future, dare I say AK? I don't know, type V3 box with a blowback. I don't know. It's just something I've noticed, and probably, you know, future-proofing themselves for something, I'd say. Yeah, so very similar plunger to the vector with the addition of that. I am going to keep this plunger and reuse it, but what I will do is I'm going to change this cylinder out for a non-ported Gen 8 type cylinder, because I think although they've kind of rated the parts bin from the vector for this, and the motor as well, for what it's worth, that's the same motor as what's in the vector. I think that port and that barrel is they just shouldn't go together. Alright, so I got just an ordinary run-of-the-mill Gen 8 non-ported cylinder here, and I'm going to chuck it back in. Although I'm here, so I'm going to do the O-ring as well. Seems kind of silly not to. I did want to sort of just leave the standard O-ring on and put the non-ported cylinder in, but I can't do it. I can't just not put an O-ring in. Can't be here and not do it. That's just who I am. Alright, so I'm going to chuck the green O-ring on there. Chuck some oil in there as well, just a bit, not too much. Don't want to overdo it with these things, because yeah, you can if you create a vacuum on the backstroke, that's bad, obviously. So you don't want to clag up your vents in the piston head, of course. All right. So I think that will do for that. I will chuck it back in, and then we will retest this blaster. Note that I haven't changed anything else. Standard cylinder head, standard nozzle, standard barrel still. I was even going to go with the standard O-ring, but I just can't bring myself to do it. Alright, chuck all this back together and see how she chooches. Alright, I might just edit this. You don't want to watch me putting all the screws back in individually, or do you? Maybe you do. I don't know, but I want to keep this video relatively brief because there is every chance that I'm going to have to pull this all apart again and do something with the T-piece of the barrel, because I hear they're not that tops either. So I'll just fast forward this. Alright, got it back together. Standard box, standard spring. No funny business going on here, just the same standard stuff. So I've just reassembled everything again, and in the process I noticed something. Now, the cylinder to barrel ratio in this was horrendous to start with, but that shouldn't, by itself at least, have the poor performance that this blaster had. Like, it was pushing 60 FPS. Magical pixies out of it. So there's something obviously bigger going on as well that's causing this to have a lack of performance. And I am pretty sure that the problem is here. If you can see where this T-piece in here, I'll see if I can get some extra light on this. You can see where this T-piece down in here sits into the nozzle of the gearbox. Now, see what I just did just then? I just clicked it back. That's where it should sit, right there. It would appear that when this was assembled, it was assembled with the barrel too far forward. So the barrel itself just wasn't actually seated correctly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop this apart again. By doing that, I've actually pulled the barrel out of its location. What I've done here is I've omitted the two screws that held this barrel in place. I'm looking at it and I'm thinking it's about, I want to say 2.93 millimeters too far forward. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to readjust this barrel assembly so that it is, it's meant to come out forwards. So I want to readjust this barrel assembly so that it is 3mm back. Now it is designed to like sit in there, but I don't think that that's ideal. I think ideally it wants to be about 3mm back. So I'm just going to measure this for so I think if that has about a 3mm gap there, we might get the result that we're looking for. What I might do is I might actually just make a little O-ring or something to fit in there. Alright, so what I've done is I've got a couple of O-rings here. Chuck the O-rings on the barrel. I've also drilled a second hole, 3mm between centers, and hopefully see how that goes. I'll just whack the screws back into that one, keeping in mind that there is a little keyway that lines up with this standard part here, which now that I've moved is not going to go all the way in, so just keep that in mind, that you get it lined up the right way when you put the screws in, if you are doing this. Incidentally, there's probably other ways you can go about doing this. This is just what I came up with on the fly right now. I've always got a load of washers and O-rings laying around. When you're modding blasters, they're always handy. Alright, so that should push me back 3mm, and it's pretty solid. Solid enough for the purposes. Alright. Pull it back together. So we've got that lined up there. Pop that. Okay. Looks like the T-piece is actually down in the barrel now. Albeit, maybe I've pushed it back a smidge too far. I'll have a look. Alright, so I just popped it back apart again. I've gone back to one O-ring. Focus. One O-ring now. Let's see how that looks with one O-ring. Seems fairly solid still. Okay, see the nozzle going in. Alright. That looks good. That looks good. I'm happy with that. Alright, can you see that? Focus. Alright, so the nozzle is actually in the T-piece. The T-piece sinks down into the barrel about 3mm, and the bottom part of the T-piece in the magwell lines up with the top T-piece there. I don't know if you can see that. But so that looks like it should feed well, and it should get a good seal as well. Let's take that to the chrono and see if I've made it any better. Alright, here we go. Ah, that's better. That's better. Now we're getting somewhere. Let's try some of the other firing modes. What's this one? 3-shot burst. And full auto. Alright. Let's check what we got there. That's much better. We got a average of 209, but I think that's brought down by the fact there was a low dropper in there, 165. But I think mostly on average we were getting around the 200s, 220-ish, which is what I'd expect from this blaster, to be honest. Alright, well, there you have it. Now that it's working properly, I rate that as a pretty nice blaster. The furniture is so solid. I really enjoy the takedown. When you get the hang of it, it's just you pop that at the back, charging handle back, slide that forward. Done. If you want to remove the barrel, you push this pin and rotate this assembly here like that, and then you can slide it out. I'm not going to slide it out because I've just put it back together and as it is. Yeah, so you can see I've got the one O-ring down in there to give my T-piece enough spacing to get back into the gearbox properly. I don't know if that's something that is just mine, or did everyone's. Was like in the comments if you got one of these things, tell me if yours was as messed up as mine was with that T-piece seal, because yeah, that's a terrible design if that's the case. But yeah, one that is not beyond repair. It's an easy fix. I literally did it in a couple of minutes there with bits and pieces that were kicking around my shop. If I'd have known that was the deal in the first place, it probably would have taken me less time. It's 2 millimeters, 3 millimeters is all that's in it. So easy enough to do. This barrel is too long. Yeah, I probably want to shorten it and put a hop up on that. I'd probably replace that with an aluminium barrel, put a hop up on it, shorten this barrel. But other than that, like, good solid blaster. I do like the 3-shot burst and the semi and whatnot, although I don't like that they put it in the safety. I would have liked to have seen a 2-stage trigger, so like semi for a quick pull and then full auto for a hard pull. Yeah, this handle up front here again could have been better. Easy fix with a small washer though. And then that's your steyr. That's not bad. Like, I mean, stock spring, stock box, everything, 220-ish. It's about what you'd expect for a standard Gen 8, and it's not a Gen 8, so I'm just comparing it to a Gen 8. It is a V3-ish, but it's not a V3 either. It is proprietary to this blaster. So having said that, it did feel really, really, really solid, and I don't expect that it would break too easily. Anything's possible. Alright, I'm going to call that a day, guys. Thank you for tuning in. And as always, if you like what I'm doing here, please buy me a coffee. The link's down in the description there. And yeah, have yourself a good day. Peace.